Parkfans.net, one of the most accurate sites for leaking some coaster projects, has been on a roll lately. Just the other day, they found an accurate layout for Universal Studios Hollywood's Fast and Furious coaster. And now we have information on the lesser talked about Project Toboggan going to SeaWorld Orlando next year. Let's get into the accurate layout and predictions on the model of this new for 2024 roller coaster. Before we get into this, big thanks to Parkfans.net for the plans and ML Designs for the concept rendering of Project Toboggan. There are links to both sources in the description. Let's get into some quick background information. This ride is replacing the old Antarctica Empire of the Penguin Dark ride. This ride was located across from Journey to Atlantis and just in between Manta and Kraken. Of course, all the exact elements are unknown, but using the footers on the plans, Parkfans drew up an accurate design of the ride experience. Could some turns be inversions or some elements be a different element? Of course, but these are accurate with the information we have and should be accurate later on. Also, something to note, Project Toboggan has an extended pre-show section, themed to something unknown, and also a station that sits 9 cars with 1 row per car. But this is where things get interesting. The people at Parkfans found out that there is a 2.6 foot gap in between each of the air gates in the station. This means that each car will only hold 1 row, and that the cars are bigger. If you're unaware, SeaWorld San Diego and Busch Gardens Williamsburg just released straddle coasters from Intamin. Usually, if one SeaWorld park gets something, another one will get the same thing. This happened with the Skyrocket 2 clones, Tempesto, Electric Eel, and Tigris, and the S&S Screamin' Swings at both Busch Gardens parks. So, it would make sense for SeaWorld Orlando to receive the same model. It lines up with the layout and fits the gap in the station, right? Wrong. Parkfans discover that the gap in the air gates is too small compared to Dark Coaster and Arctic Rescue at the other parks. This means a straddle coaster is out of the question. Also, the rows only sit 2 people, not 4. This was figured out by using the width of the indoor pre-show section of the plans. This eliminates almost all of the B&M models except for some. As we know, Pipeline just opened at SeaWorld Orlando, and that sits 2 across, and has a super similar airgate gap discovered by Parkfans. So, could this be a B&M? The people at Parkfans certainly think so. B&M has 2 smaller family coasters in China, both inverted. However, if you look at the family coaster tab on B&M's website, it says the trains can sit above or below the track. While both of the family coasters that are built are inverted, it is entirely possible for B&M to build a sit-down 2 across family coaster. Especially because B&M is getting used to LSMs now with Thunderbird and of course Pipeline, it is definitely not out of the question. And something else Parkfans noticed is that the footers near the end of the coaster are the same design as those used at the end of Pipeline. SeaWorld Orlando also loves B&M, having built 4 of their coasters already, so B&M is pretty likely for a family coaster. But before we get into the layout and dissect the elements, let's talk about any other possibilities. Could this be a straddle coaster from Intamin or a different manufacturer such as Zamperla or Vekoma? It's unlikely, but if one of the companies is running a different train design, the air gates could very well line up. Vekoma is in a new era. Since they were first building motorbike coasters, it could make sense that a new train and model for the coaster has been developed by Vekoma. Even Intamin could be working on a different train that we don't know about. But what about B&M? Could B&M be working on a type of straddle coaster with tighter trains? The problem is B&M just released the surf coaster. So would B&M already be working on a motorbike coaster when other companies can build the same ride? Probably not. Is it out of the question? Nothing is out of the question yet, anything is possible, but the most likely scenario is that this is just a family coaster from B&M with separated cars. Now let's talk about this layout. After departing from the station, the train would stay inside this dark ride portion of the coaster. There could be pauses for different show scenes. In this dark section, the train would turn slightly left at the station, wrap around to the right, turn back around before finally into the launch track. Again, the train could pause before the launch, which is most likely, or could be a rolling launch. Being a family coaster, the launch shouldn't be that quick. I predict that this launch would only reach around 40 to 45 miles per hour. The ride stays pretty low to the ground based on the footers, so anything faster would be too intense. The ride immediately takes a right-hand turn before swooping down into the main portion of the ride. This portion of the ride takes place over some rock work or other landscaping and should hopefully go close to the terrain. The ride turns slightly left before rising back up into a small airtime pop. B&M has great restraints, and if this family coaster has modified versions of the clamshells or lap bars, the smallest airtime pops should give airtime. The track levels out above the ground before swooping down sharply to the right. Something noticeable about this layout is that it is very smooth. There are no sharp turns, transitions, or laterals. It's all very graceful and comfortable, great for families. This is a big difference from Kraken and Manta next door, and even Icebreaker to some extent. The train rises in a small airtime pop before turning around. Guests traverse a graceful turnaround before twisting back down to the right. Again, the train rises to the left and stays above the upcoming track in this twister section. Riders experience a slower right-hand turn before entering the second launch. Just like the first, it will start off horizontal before ascending a little bit. This launch should be about the same speed as the first, maybe a little bit faster, as the second half is much more spread out than the first. Riders reach the highest point on the ride, in a near overbank turn. This looks to be the best part of the ride from this animation. It looks pretty forceful. Riders quickly twist back down to ground level before turning the other direction and rising up. This leads into one final airtime hill, which should provide mild floater before twisting into one final left-hand turn. This turn quickly lines the train up for the brake run. Based on the brake run having 2 block zones before the station and 2 launches, I suspect this new coaster will be running 4 trains. 1 loading in the station, 1 on holding block 1, 1 in the course, and then the last train in the pre-show. That would maximize capacity on a pretty long line with a low height requirement. So what do I think of this family coaster headed to SeaWorld Orlando? I think that this is a fantastic fit. The only thing I'm not 100% sure with is the manufacturer. SeaWorld Orlando built Icebreaker to be a family coaster. That really didn't work. Icebreaker, while not very tall or as extreme as the other coasters in the park, still has intense moments, super aggressive airtime pops, and is more like a thrill coaster than a family coaster. And with Pipeline built this year, it's time SeaWorld moves back to the family direction. I love the idea of a family coaster, but if this is just a sit-down launch coaster, I feel like there could have been better alternatives. The straddle coaster, for example, would be much more thrilling than just a twisting sit-down launch coaster. However, I will admit, I said the same thing about Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood, and look at how well received that ride is. Will it be anywhere close to the best in the park? Definitely not. I think in the rankings, this will place 1 above Journey to Atlantis and 1 below Icebreaker. But it's good that SeaWorld is most likely strengthening their relationship with B&M even more. There are still some parks in the chain, most notably SeaWorld San Antonio, that could use some more B&Ms in their lineup. Who knows, maybe this model is what Busch Gardens Tampa has up their sleeve, as they just removed Sand Serpent and there's a lot of trees being cleared around the area. B&M is super reliable and builds some of the best coasters, so I'm excited to see what the future holds. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment what you think of Project Toboggan and have a great rest of your day.